The start of another summer. The weather uncertain but no longer sharply edged, and I am pregnant again. In front of me is all the ordinary and useful disarrangement of my desk, and beyond it the rain-smudged window with a view across our garden to where my daughter plays, watched over by Johannes. She has begun to lose, lately, the tumbling immediacy of toddlerhood. I notice it when we walk together, our strides separate, or when we sit face to face across a table, how she is taller now, and straighter, and inflects her actions with intent. Once her thoughts broke like weather across her face, but that readable plasticity is gone, and she is not so transparent. Complexity has brought concealment. The weight of her body when I lift her takes me by surprise, its unfamiliarity a reiteration of the distance between us. She used to clamber over me, her legs around my waist, her arms around my neck, as though I were furniture or an extension of herself, unthought of or intimately known. Now she stands apart, and I must reach for her, on each occasion a little further, until it seems her progress towards adulthood is a kind of disappearing, and that I know her less and less the more that she becomes herself. This is how things ought to be, her going away while I remain, but still I think that if I could, then I might reach across to where she stands, outlined against the violent yellow mass of a forsythia bush, and pull her back to me, to keep her always in my sight, so that she might be nothing more than the sum of what I know of her. On the 28th of December, 1895, at the Salon Indien de Grand Café in Paris, the Lumière brothers, Auguste and Louis, presented to the public for the first time a screening of a selection of their cinematographic films. All that afternoon, along the Boulevard du Capucines, a line of people waited, their breath rising through the freezing air in expectation of a wonder. Later, sat in rows on slat-backed chairs, they saw it, the flickering black-and-white image of Auguste holding his baby daughter up to a fishbowl, balancing the child on her feet so that she might look down at the water inside, the tumbling elision of the film's frames making manifest inside the winter darkness a months-old summer afternoon. And at the same time, 600 miles away in the Bavarian city of Würzburg, Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen, chair of physics, ran through the streets to hand over a paper to the president of the university's Physical Medical Society, a first description of the X-ray. For weeks, while the Lumière brothers had prepared their films, Röntgen, alone in his laboratory, its windows draped with heavy cloth to keep the winter's weakened sunlight out, had seen all that had been solid grow towards transparency. Opaque materials, wood, stone, his own flesh, had been reduced for him to shadowed outline, leaving the image of a substrate world spread out across a photographic plate, a catalogue of metal and bone, and all that would not rot to set against cinema's preservation of surface. There was a point, some years ago, when this concatenation of dates preoccupied me. I was trying to decide whether to have a child. For months, all through a wet spring and an early, lightless summer, Johannes and I sat side by side in the evenings on the sofa or in the garden, and we talked about it. Or we didn't talk about it. But it seemed that we never talked of anything else. All our words mere surtext to my inability to find a way out of the bind in which I had placed myself. I wanted a child fiercely, but couldn't imagine myself pregnant or a mother, seeing only how I was now or how I thought I was, singular, centerless, afraid. I was terrified of the irrevocability of birth and what came after it, how the raising of a child, that unduckable responsibility, might turn each of my actions into weighted accidents, moulding another life without intention, into unpropitious shapes, and caught between these two poles, my desire, my fear. I was miserable, and made Johannes miserable too. Minute by minute, I would be sure that a decision had been reached, but they wouldn't stick. I felt that I was staring at a fissure to be leapt across, and each time, making my feint at its nearer bank, I would run out, and over again that year I knelt on the floor in front of Johannes and said, "I don't know what to do. What should I do?" Until he could only hold my head in his hands and say, "I love you."